This is a story about a German-born immigrant to America who found out right quick that gold can lead to a heap of trouble. His name was none other than John Sutter. The first discovery of gold in California was sighted right on his land on January 24, 1848. James Marshall, one of John's work hands, sighted a gleaming gold nugget near Mr. Sutter's watered power sawmill on the south branch of the American River. John tried to keep the gold find a secret, but it was as useless as trying to keep a hungry boy from having another pancake on Saturday morning. The news spread like wildfire, and a whole horde of gold prospectors came into the area to have a look-see, and they weren't disappointed. Gold was all over the place. This was bad. John Sutter's work hands just got up and quit to get in on the gold find, and John just watched helplessly as they tore up his land. Mr. Sutter lost out because of unfair gold claim laws that they had back in the 1850s. You see, all a miner had to do was stake a claim. It didn't much matter if others already pioneered that piece before gold was found there. The pioneers lost out on their rightful ownership. Many a good, hard-working folk lost out on that terrible, faulty law. Take, for example, this farmer in Grass Valley, California. One day, a prospector discovered gold on this farmer's hayfield. And before you could whistle, old Susanna, gold diggers were swarming all over his field like prairie dogs digging here and there. Needless to say, they tore up his field so bad that his hay crop was destroyed, and the poor farmer didn't even get a chance to put in a gold claim on his own land. The gold diggers got a jump on the land before he even knew what to do about it. Whatever happened to John Sutter? Well, because his workmen left, his business failed. All the hard work that John did at Sutter's Fort in Sacramento, California, trying to make the wilderness more livable for ranchers and farmers, came to an end practically overnight because of a single gold nugget. He died in Washington, D.C. on June 18th, 1880, at the age of 77 years old, still trying to regain from the United States government the money lost from his former land holdings. The Bible has much to say on the subject of gold, silver, and riches. Consider this verse in Proverbs chapter 30, 8 and 9. It says, O Lord, remove from me vanity and lies. Give me neither poverty nor riches, but feed me with what is convenient. Or else, if I have too much, I'll deny you and say, Who is the Lord? Or who needs the Lord? And if I'm poor, I'll go out and steal and take your name in vain. I believe that should be our prayer too. I once knew a very famous Christian author who made well over $1 million on his best-selling books. My wife, Marilyn, and I were invited to his $300,000 home in California. There was a time when this author was a poor preacher, but things changed as a result of his books. Once, while at his house, I noticed him admiring one of his books. No one knew but me. He was stroking it with tender love and a prideful look. The Lord whispered into my inner spirit, and he said, Richard, mark what you've just seen. This man will soon fall. I stood there in silence and said to the Lord, No, Lord, this cannot be. This is a great Bible teacher. He knows the Bible so well, he could never fall away. About 3 years later, he left his wife, children, and ran off with a girl that I knew 15 years or so younger than he, and committed adultery and married her. Needless to say, he lost much of what he owned in due season. He took his eyes off God and set them on his books, which made him his millions, and that's what became his downfall. I pray that I'll never forget that lesson. Most teenagers in America today, when I've interviewed and asked them, what do you want to get out of life? They've all responded, wealth and happiness. May our response be what Paul told young Timothy in 1 Timothy 6:6. But godliness, let me say that again, but godliness with contentment is great gain. Think about that.